Activate your personal shield.
Then get your trait
level to 3 because it's time for the Star Wars Battlefront podcast.
This episode of the Star Wars Battlefront podcast is brought to you by our patrons on Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/Battlefront podcast to help support this show. We're also brought to you by our PayPal supporters, paypal.me/tie-dye-sheep, TYEDYESHEEP.
Welcome to episode 99 of the Star Wars Battlefront podcast. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, joined by PayPal supporter Eric, who on Twitter is at cat_America_50. In this episode, we'll be going over the vehicles we want in Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the gameplay systems we want, as well as even more to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Let's get started. Let's get started with the systems that we want carried over from Star Wars Battlefront 2015. Do you have any systems that you would like to be carried over to Battlefront 2?
As far as systems go, I'm not great with the specifics of the names, but when we got the DLC, the free DLC, the first one that had Nyanub and Greedo.
Yeah.
What system was that specifically for the name?
That was the Outer Rim.
Okay, because I think those maps in Outer Rim were some of the most fun ones, like where you're out in kind of the canyon caves and then go into the building for that extraction game mode, that map. That map was probably one of my favorites on the whole game itself. As well as, inside the building where Jabba the Hutt, his ship, that was a fun map as well.
Yes. Something that I would like to be carried over from Star Wars Battlefront 2015 is a quick spawn feature. Because in the Battlefront alpha that we played at EA Play I felt it was a little too slow in its spawn-in times.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It seemed like, okay, yeah, I'm just waiting for other teammates. What I would like to see is you spawn in and then you build up your team after you spawn in. That would be the quickest way to do something like that, instead of waiting for your squad to get filled up and then you play.
Yeah, I really disliked, and that's one of the main reasons I always had a jump pack in my load, because you'd need to have a jump pack just to catch up to battle action if you wanted to get points. And I'm hoping in this new game, how they have the jetpack troopers, I'm hoping the spawn points won't be quite as far away, since you can't just automatically always start with a jump pack to get back into action. And I think what you were saying would really help fix that.
Yeah, just a better spawn points and then a faster way to actually get into the action. Like I love the opportunity where I could just sit in the menus and choose different things, but it did slow down the action. Like, oh, I've got to wait until the rest of my partners will spawn in, and then to create a squad. That just slowed it down for me. So what I would like to see, like I said earlier, is you jump into the game mode, you pick your class, you immediately go into the game mode. Then, as people spawn in behind you, you form that 4-person squad outside of the menu and inside of the battle, instead of slowing it down before you actually jump in.
So in other words, you're kind of wanting to join up on the battlefield itself and be able to form a squad, rather than at the menu.
Yes.
That'd be really cool.
Another thing that we don't really know about right now is how we'll be able to say, for when Battlefront 2 launches, we want to do a bunch of parties on the PlayStation, and when we eventually get an Xbox One on there as well, so we can team up and just enjoy playing Battlefront together. How that will actually work? Is it going to be in-game chat, or is it going to be through a party system? How will that work in game mode? Will it be easy to get into a game mode with a bunch of people and then communicate to where you are? Because before, in Battlefront 2015, we've done 3 parties like that, and each one it was like, where are you? Oh, I'm over here. Where over here? It's like you only have one partner to spawn in with.
it was very tricky with 2015 how if you wanted to play with more than one person, it wasn't exactly easy to meet up and get in the same match on the same team and be, involved with each other. So I really do hope they improve that, because otherwise it was just kind of like, hoping you guys end up in the same match. And like I said, if you had more than one person you were playing with, it was really tough to get into certain matches.
And then you had the problem was like, oh, the game mode's got a lot of spaces available, but my friends aren't able to actually get in there because it's like one of one in the queue. That really bothered getting into the game modes with each other.
Because there's been plenty of times where I'm trying to join, say, a heroes versus villains with a friend, and my screen is showing one of one, but then I talk to my buddy in my mic, and then he says, "Oh, there's 4 open spots right now. You should be able to get in," and then it's still showing me in the queue, and hopefully we don't run into that same problem with Battlefront 2.
Exactly. That's something I'm dubious about, because they didn't really handle that well in Battlefront 2015, so I hope that they fix that system.
Yeah, I agree.
Another thing, and this is just because I love film grain, is the film grain settings. I would love to see that brought back.
Oh, really? So, what do you explain what you mean with that one for me with the film grain?
Okay, so in Battlefront 2015, in the settings you had the visualization of film grain, so you could add the graininess, the grainy texture of film. On top of your gameplay. And it didn't really add to anything, but it just looked interesting and made it feel more like Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, a little more gritty.
I would love to see that carry it over. I don't know if they will, just because they're bringing in a prequel trilogy as well. In the prequel trilogy, they use 1080p cameras, all digital, so it was a very clean image instead of like the grainy texture of film.
Gotcha.
So that's
I'm hoping for with Battlefront 2 coming out here soon. I hope they improve the map a little bit. I think the map was like super simple and almost in a way where you needed a little more detail to get a precise location on your enemy, and it made it a little tricky. I think they need to enhance the map a little bit to make it a little bit more effective, because I don't know about you, but I always felt like the map was hit or miss on 2015.
It's very limited in its visibility. Like it notified you when people were around and they were running or they were shooting weapons, but other than that, not really. It didn't show you many of the actual objectives. That was through a heads-up display.
Yeah.
In the game mode. What I would like to see, and this was in the original Battlefront 2, was you press this button and it brings your map full screen above your gameplay.
Okay, like translucent, like you see what's going on, but you still see the full map on the whole screen.
Yeah, so you can see where everything is, where the objectives are. Maybe not like show individual troopers, but where a majority of them are, which ones are getting attacked, or just allow me to look everywhere and make sure that I'm going in the right direction.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, because some of the maps were pretty large, and at that point, judging by the map, you didn't always have a great idea unless you had the maps memorized, like most of us did after a few months, but you didn't really know where your objective was unless you knew the map really well, because like you said, it was limited visibility.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that idea of being able to expand the map, or just like maybe make the map bigger on your screen.
Yeah. Have you played Grand Theft Auto for PS4?
I have not.
GTA 5. Okay, well, with that map, you have the ability to use the D-pad, and it has the same little map in the bottom left corner, but if you use the D-pad and go down, you have the ability to immediately bring up a detailed version of the entire map, kind of like what you were saying. But I think if you do something with like a hotkey like that, where maybe a D-pad that you don't use, if you can like expand the map and like you said, have it be like translucent where you see through it and still see what you're doing, and you can open and close it real quick just to see where you need to go. I think that would be a huge difference, just because like with the old map, you kind of got what you got, and if they weren't like 5 feet in front of you, you didn't know. And certainly for larger maps with objectives, you just kind of had to go in that general direction without knowing much detail.
Yeah. I like that idea too, because you already use the D-pad to switch your perspective from first to third person, and vice versa. That if they do have emotes, they could just do 2 emotes instead of the 3 that were originally there. And then you have maybe, let's say, the left D-pad button is an emote, and the right D-pad button is an emote, and then the top and the bottom ones, the bottom one will switch your perspective, and then the top direction of the D-pad will allow you to expand your map.
That's a great idea.
I would really like to see that added.
Definitely.
The biggest thing I want in Battlefront 2 is customization, and they've shown that they're willing to do that with Starfighter Assault, because like Starfighter Assault gives you the control of flying a ship. You can barrel roll when you want to, you can dodge, you can aim your weapons whichever way you want to. It's very customizable. But I would like to see more of that with Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah, it would be cool if you could put like, if Battlefront decided to go with clan tags or, call signs or anything like that, to put something like that on your Starfighter.
Yes, I would love that. That is a great idea.
That way you have your own personal logo that you created, or like your clan tag, anything like that. So another ship, once they kill you, you can, maybe your clan tag highlights or your call sign you put on your ship.
Yeah, like stickers or insignias, or like
Definitely.
like not you don't even have to have ones that you make yourself. You could even they could have like a selection to choose from to make it even easier.
Just like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, how you could choose the emblem and the banner as well. Something like that, where they know it was your ship that did it, not just a generic, say X-Wing. This one has your logo on it or your clan tag.
Yeah, and they could even do that with troopers too, if they do the pauldrons, which is the little orange little shoulder piece that the sand troopers have.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could even put a logo on there, and then it doesn't really mess with the gameplay per se, but it does allow you to have that customization.
Or maybe there's certain droid units that you can use in your ship and customize and use like a set of 3 different droids, and they all have 3 different boosts for your vehicle. Like if you use like a typical blue R2 unit, maybe you repair or, generate health a little bit. Maybe if you use a red unit, you get like 10% stronger blaster fire for a certain amount of time, or something like that. You customize a droid and it affects your ship, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, that I would love to see that, and you could earn them through loot boxes. You could buy them through credits. I would love to see that.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, it would just add another, sense of this is my ship, not like, oh, we all have the same one. Well, I might have an X-Wing that has this droid in it, but I've got this logo, so it's me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to see that. That's ultimately what I want to see more of in Battlefront 2, because they have all of these different eras. They have so much more to choose from. I would love to see more customization to make you stand out on the battlefield, or on the battlefront, I should say.
Yeah, with all these eras, it's the perfect chance to be able to customize your stuff. That way everybody, is different in a way. Everybody stands out.
And in the video we made for our YouTube channel, the Star Wars Battlefront podcast, I did an episode on the skins. I want, and we kind of covered on that. It was like Battlefront 2015's Battlefront was very limited in its customization. You hit rank 50, and then you got the Shadow Trooper or the Twi'lek, and then everyone else hit that, and then you lost that the unique quality of having that skin.
Oh yeah, nothing was cooler than when the game first came out and you earned your Shadow Trooper skin, and everybody's like, "Whoa, how do we get that?" So I thought that was really cool too. But then everybody started getting it, and then it became less fun using a different skin.
Yeah, I would like to see skins available through loot crates, because like Overwatch does. Like that would be so much better than you reach a certain rank and then you get the opportunity to buy that skin. I would like to see you can win these skins through loot crates, and then you have to be a certain rank to wear them or something like that. That's what I would like to see.
I think there should be, with Star Wars, I think there should be a lot more species for skins. Like maybe you can pick a Wookiee.
That would be awesome.
That kind of stuff. I mean, there's so many different species and stuff. To limit it to, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 different ones from the last Battlefront 2015, I thought, it was, I don't want to say lazy, because obviously there's a lot of work that goes in the game, but I think there could have been a lot more species that would have made, teams so much more diverse and interesting and, funny with the emotes. If you got Wookiees running around making noises, and, I think the more the merrier when it comes to the species and different, droids or anything like that you could use on the battlefield. It'd make it more fun.
Yeah, exactly. And Battlefront 2015 had a problem where the Rebel side was outnumbered in their customization. So I would like to see more unique trooper skins. I would love to see the green jungle trooper for Kashyyyk. The Kashyyyk trooper. I would love to see that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. And like I said, the more the merrier, because the more available options that you can unlock, whether it's loot crate, whether it's achievements or XP, any of that, the more you have, the more people are going to participate and do different challenges and play all the different game modes, because they want to have that feeling, oh yes, I unlocked the final one.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that I want loot crates to have skins is like, oh, I want that skin, and then you keep on opening loot crates to see if you get it. For a lot of people that isn't fun, but for me, I find it really fun to have that ability to do that.
Definitely, I agree with you there.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and then we will cover the vehicles we want added to Star Wars Battlefront 2.
You're listening to the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast, a podcast from the Tie-Dye Sheep Entertainment Podcast Network, a network dedicated to bringing content as great and as weird as the hosts. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/battlefrontpodcast. You can donate $1 up to $10, and we have different tiers for that. So if you'd like to support the show and get some exclusive content, because we'll be doing bonus shows there, you can support us through that link. And at $1 per month, you have the ability to come on the podcast if you so desire.
Okay. Vehicles in Star Wars Battlefront 2, we have 3 eras available to choose from. I'm looking at StarWars.com's databank, StarWars.com/databank, and it is filled to the brim with different vehicles to choose from. And we've already gotten the AAT battle tank in Star Wars Battlefront 2 we saw on Attack on Theed, which leads me to believe that there should be more. Do you have any vehicles that you would like to see?
For me, this is a little separate from vehicle specifics itself, but I think as far as vehicles go, if you could add maybe a speeder like Endor had on 2015 that perhaps like a hero could interact with, I think that would be awesome, to be honest. Like, say you're playing on Endor and you're running around with Han Solo and you're in a tough spot, why not just hop on a speeder and dip out of there? I think having certain vehicles that wouldn't overpower like extremely that heroes could interact with, I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and we see in Return of the Jedi, Luke riding a speeder bike, as well as Leia.
Oh yeah, definitely. And maybe certain abilities where he could use his lightsaber maybe when he was on a speeder, or, you know, Han could use his pistol, you know, something like that that would make it more, it would give people motivation to use the vehicles on the map. And, you know, if a hero was able to use them, that would be even cooler.
Yeah. What we also got on Attack on Theed was the AT-RT walker for the clones. So we have 2 vehicles available on just that map.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads me to believe that there are going to be more of them. We also got the MTT that's available like as a walker assault kind of controlling.
Now, when you were at the convention, did you use the AT-RT?
I did use the AT-RT.
How was that maneuverability and everything?
It was a little finicky just because it was so fast. I got stuck in a tree once. But I really enjoyed it. Once you play with it more, you start getting the hang of, okay, so this can't fit through this gap, but I can speed through this group of people, and you can stomp on people and reduce their health. You can fire on them. I really enjoyed it. I think it can be improved, though.
Now, do you think those are going to be one of the popular points of the new game modes? Just everyone's going to rush for the AT-RT and, you know, try to get there before everyone else? Or do you think people kind of get sick of it or annoyed? Or I think it's going to be pretty cool.
I don't think everyone will go after it just because it is a little bit finicky. But if you do play that and you like it, I think you're going to play with it a lot.
Gotcha. Now, what about like the AT-TE walker? I forget which movies those were from, but they kind of look like essentially 4-legged animals with a giant gun on their back, and I think those things are pretty cool. Dang, let me see what movie that's from. Those are from, well, they're from the Grand Army of the Republic. Legs are, oh yeah, they fire a giant laser, essentially a ball, and they also have the front walker is lined with 4 ball turret laser cannons with a single heavy projectile cannon mounted on the back. So I think something like that would be awesome to have in, you know, these bigger game modes where you can't just run out in the middle of the map without getting, you know, obliterated. Kind of like with Walker Assault with the AT-ATs. You know, you have a reason to sneak around the side. You don't want to just walk out and get destroyed.
Yeah, and if maybe in a different map, because it looks like they're focusing more on, so we may have like 2 or 3 game modes, and then depending on the map, actually what I think they're doing is they're going to have 2 main game modes, and depending on the map, they're going to change their objectives. We see this in last episode. We had interviewed John Stanley, and he said that the objective will change depending on it. Say, Camino will have a different objective than the attack on Fondor. We could see that with the Galactic Assault as well. Maybe attack on Theed is you have the big MTT on the CIS side, and then on another map in the prequel era, we have the AT-TE walker as the big vehicle that you have to try and take down.
Because that's a different era. So, like you said, I mean, once they change eras, they probably aren't going to be all AT-ATs and, you know, that kind of thing. They're going to add stuff from the earlier eras.
Exactly. Another one I would like to see, I hope there's Coruscant, because I would love to see that. I think if they don't have Coruscant, they're missing out on a lot of unique gameplay abilities. But I would like to see, if there is a Coruscant map, the Coruscant air taxis that you can jump and pilot around.
Oh. Okay, yeah, that would be a good one.
Kind of like the cloud cars did on Bespin.
You know, the cloud cars, I don't know, this might be unpopular, but I was not really a fan of the cloud car.
I enjoyed the cloud cars, but like as with all multi, as with all the game modes where you have ground combat as well as aerial combat, you have those people that just keep on going and just destroying everyone from above.
Yeah.
What they could do to change that, and I don't know how hard or easy this is to actually implement, is to lower the damage against the ground assault and have it different than if you're firing on a vehicle. That could help out that problem.
Now, speaking of these vehicles here, I've had more than one person ask me my opinion on if I think pod racers will make an appearance in this game in any sense. Now, what do you think about that?
Pod racers would be interesting. I just don't know how they would actually implement it.
Maybe just in the map, like maybe that's just you can see them in the map or something, or maybe in the background you see a pod racers going by. But I think that was a pretty big part of the episode 1. No, it wasn't my favorite movie or anything, but I think those are kind of iconic for that trio of the movies, just because it was such a cool concept. Maybe they could just throw them in a map somewhere, or I don't know. I really doubt they'd make them drivable or anything, but I think it would be really awesome if you could, at least see them in any of the maps.
Yeah, I think that would be cool as well. Like you said, I don't think it'll be playable, but I think it would be a good world building technique because in Assault on Theed, we saw ships moving up above. We saw clone troopers under as prisoners. We saw all these things happening that didn't affect the gameplay at all, but it did add to say, oh, I feel more like I'm in Star Wars now. So
just like you may have a stronger connection to understanding, like, oh, this is the clone trooper era. If you see, like, those ships that Yoda was in with those clone troopers riding around, they were kind of like vehicles that carried troops, but they also had a lot of firepower. In, say, for instance, Episode 2, when Yoda was riding with the clones in those, they almost look like VTOLs, but it's the attack gunships, and those things were really cool. I think it'd be awesome if they put those into, the new aerial battles, and because they'd be effective against the ground as well.
I would love to see those. I remember building a Lego set of that ship, and I loved it because, like, and they're in the original Battlefront 2 and as well. But even if they're just in there, I would like to see them. I would like to see them available to play in space combat or aerial combat. But I would also like to see them as a world building opportunity to say when they start, all of the troopers jump off of there. I think that happens in Assault on Theed.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Just as another world building nod, because the more detail you put into it, the more, some people are gonna look over that, but people like Norwal Dave will love you for it.
Well, I mean, how cool would it be if you could say you're playing a large map with a large game mode that it's a lot of people in it, and imagine just being able to load up 3 or 4 troops into that and pilot them over to an objective, and maybe hover and press square so they could rappel down. That way you could transport them to an objective. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. I think that may be a little too difficult to actually implement, but it would be so cool to say everyone, like if they do allow voice chat in game, say go to the transport ship and you can go be transported to this other area of the map or this other objective.
Yeah, or use the Imperial shuttle that's in all of the movies. Maybe if you're the Empire side, you guys all can hop in this shuttle and it'll take you over to a certain spot of the map that maybe it only functions every 2 minutes during the match, and so if you miss it, you got to wait for the next one, or something like that, where you're interacting more with some of the iconic vehicles. Because that those Imperial shuttles are in every single movie, and I think it'd be cool if somehow they integrated that in.
Yeah, or you could use those shuttles as a way to transition in between rounds, or
Oh, yeah.
or phases. You can say you could have a phase where you're going to the transport shuttle to get transported to this other side of the map, and then you attack a bigger ship or a tank or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
But I think that would be a really cool way to do that. I really want them to add more tanks into Battlefront.
Yes, I'm right there with you.
Another thing I would like to see is the I would like to see more speeder bikes across different maps instead of just them being on an indoor map.
Yeah, because I mean, speeders are so common in all the movies and all the stories. I mean, that's what they use to get around. And regardless of if it's an indoor map where you're inside a battle cruiser or something, you're not going to drive around the Death Star with a speeder. But any other any other outdoor map, sure, limit the range and then say like, warning, you are leaving the battlefield with a countdown. But give you a chance to use it. And like I said, why not let the heroes use it? Because there was like the Sith speeder and everything. Count Dooku drove around on a speeder. Why can't anybody else?
Yeah, Luke and Leia are on speeders. What I would like to see is Darth Maul's Sith speeder added.
Oh, yeah.
I would love that.
That would be sick. Yeah.
Let's see. There are so many vehicles to choose from.
What about General Grievous? You remember that like circle ball thing he drove on?
Let's see.
That thing is, they gotta add him on there, and just for that vehicle. See, I think if heroes could have vehicles or interactables, I think they could do it. It's on this website somewhere.
It's General Grievous's TSMEU 6-wheel bike, or TMU-6 wheel bike. It does not have 6 wheels. Let's see the light.
Because you remember him rolling around like going on walls and
like
that thing was cool.
If they add Obi-Wan as well, they could add the lizard that I'm blanking on the name of.
That would be really. I forget too, but all I remember is that noise it made in the movies.
Yonk, yonk. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see stuff like that added.
Because I think Star Wars fans of the movies would absolutely love seeing that in a game.
Yes, and the sound design already in Star Wars and Battlefront is incredible. So if they could, I would definitely like them to add the actual sounds that are in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that'd be so cool.
There's the turtle tanker or the sandcrawler I would love to see the sandcrawler moving around.
Yeah. Like maybe there's a game mode where the sandcrawler, you have to prevent the sandcrawler from going point A to point B, and certain aerial attacks stop it, or something like that. That'd be cool.
And right now the equivalent on the droid side on Assault on Theed is a little unbalanced. So they could add the STAPs. They are lightweight reconnaissance and patrol vehicles used by the battle droids of the Trade Federation Army, and later the Separatist Alliance, incorporating repulsor lift technology. The STAP single trooper aerial platform is a slim, agile craft sporting a pair of blaster cannons. STAPs are often deployed as support vehicles in conjunction with larger craft.
Oh yeah, and that's from episode 1, right? When the droids were in that big open battlefield, and they kind of look like segways that float.
Exactly. When Star Wars was battling across the Windows PC background.
Yeah, yeah. And what about those? You remember when the Wookiees were attacked, right? And you remember those battle tanks that the Wookiees were using, right?
Yes.
Those would be cool. That would be cool. But I don't see, if they let you use the Wookiees as a species on that certain planet, then that would be special if they could add that.
Yeah, we are running into the problem of there are so many vehicles and so many classes and races and just so much stuff in Star Wars that's going to be hard. Dennis Bernvall said himself, we're not going to be able to put everything in at launch. And by the end of Battlefront 2's life, I don't think they'll be able to bring everything at all as well. So I'm hoping that they choose interesting things that will add to the gameplay instead of just like random things, or instead of not focusing on them at all.
As far as heroes and stuff go, I don't know how they're gonna decide what they're gonna do. Because if you think about any of these eras, like you have General Grievous, you have Count Dooku, you have they're just endless like choices you could use. I don't know how they're even gonna decide which ones they're gonna go with for each era.
Yeah, that's gonna be a huge problem that they're gonna be running into. Star Wars is huge, and there's just so much stuff to choose from. It's going to be hard actually choosing. And before
go ahead.
Before Battlefront 2 launched, we were saying that we didn't think that they were going to add Clone Wars trilogy era content just because there was so much of it, and it'd be hard to choose. And what if you choose this one hero when everyone else wants this other hero? It's just something that's hard to actually choose from. Yeah,
that's for sure. That's at least we're not the one making the tough decisions. I would not want to be the one who had to decide, whether I want to add, young Obi-Wan or young Anakin. There's so many possibilities of stuff to add that, they're just going to have to go with the choice they made, and everyone's just going to have to deal with it.
Exactly. And I think that's a good note to end the podcast on. I know we could talk more about this, but we are running a little long. Thank you so much for reaching out, supporting us on PayPal. I want to thank you so much for that. Really appreciated. Thank you all for listening. This episode was brought to you by our patrons on Patreon, patreon.com/Battlefront Podcast, as well as our PayPal supporters, paypal.me/TieDyeSheep, TYEDYESHEEP. If you would like to help support the show without spending any money, you can go over to iTunes and leave us a review, or through the podcast app on your iPhone. You can follow us on Twitter at SWB Podcast, twitter.com/SWB Podcast. You can follow Eric on Twitter as well. That is capt, CAPT _America_50. You have contributed a lot of Twitter topics to the podcast as well.
That's right. And I would urge everybody, if you've got a couple extra bucks, donate to these guys. They're awesome. The content they make is amazing. And, I think this podcast could go a long way, and I think you're going to see a big boost as soon as Battlefront 2 comes out. And I'm happy to support you, and I hope everybody else does too, because you guys got a special thing going.
Thank you very much. I look forward to Battlefront Beta. I think we're going to grow with that, and then Battlefront 2's launch. Thank you so much for coming on the show and supporting us on PayPal. That's all for this episode.
May the Force be with you.
Always.